All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, as you can see, it's a little different scenery today. I am actually in my pop room. All right. So, yeah. So, if I sound a little different on the recording, I do apologize for that. Hopefully, it's better if it is a difference. But if not, no problem. No harm, no foul. So, let's go ahead and look at today's objective. So we're going to analyze what the Industrial Revolution was like for the US. We're going to examine the importance of obtaining fresh or new raw material. And if you have no idea what that is, we'll get into that a little bit later. And last, we're going to create an argument on why immigrants would be coming over to the United States. Okay, so here's your warm up picture. The first one, let me move my camera, little video thing over here. There you go. The first question asks you, what do you notice about the people getting on the boat? Okay, so I want you to take a look at the people and tell me what do you notice. Um, a little helpful hint for those of you guys, especially who are eagle eyes and you see little details. There's something interesting that the women don't have, except for one. One has this particular item, the other ones don't. Okay, so see if you can find what that is, right? The other question asks you, do the two signs misrepresent the United States, or does it kind of sound like a con, just to get people on the boat? Okay, so up on top, the first one, it says no oppressive taxes, meaning no big, huge taxes that are going to make you keep you poor. No expensive kings, pretty self explanatory. No compulsory military service. Basically, that means that um, you don't have to join the army if you don't want to. Because some countries, even to this day, men and some places even women who are like as young as 12, usually it's like 14, 16, they're basically forced to join the military. Okay. The last part of it says no knots in dungeons. So, in other words, they're not going to throw you in a dungeon, throw away the key. The other one says free education, free land, free speech, free ballot, and free lunch. So again, those two signs, what they say, do you think that's a misrepresentation of America, or do you think, no, that's pretty accurate? And explain. If you say, yes, it's pretty accurate, explain. If you say, no, no, it's a misrepresentation, we don't, they're lying to the people, explain. Okay? So, uh, pause the video, write your response, okay? Because we're moving on in three, two, one. Okay, so the first industrial revolution occurred in England, believe it or not, and it took a while for it to get to the United States. It took a little more than 50 years for it to get here, but because of one incident, it kind of halted it, and that was the Civil War. Okay, but the second industrial revolution was strongly due to the Civil War and the Reconstruction. Now, thing is, I've had some students ask me, well, why? How's that possible? How can the Civil War make like the uh, Industrial Revolution start? Well, because you have to remember, a lot of people worked in farms, before the war started. There was only 1.3 million people who actually worked in factories out of 30 million. A lot of them they worked on farms, things like that. Which, if you don't know about farm work, guys, it's not easy. It's hard work. It's backbreaking work and long hours. So a lot of these soldiers, if you remember from that time, um, when they were in the war, they lost an arm, one leg, two legs, things like that. So it would be hard for them to do farm work now that they lost an appendage, you know. Whereas in a factory, they could just pull a lever to put more heat or less heat, in a furnace type of thing. Um, they had machinery that they can, pull this lever, hold this thing down, press this, um, carry this from here to here. It was a lot easier to work in a factory than it was in a farm. Okay. Now, did everyone go from farm to factories? No, 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 of course not. Some people still went to farms, but there were some people who said, you know what? I heard about this place called Colorado where the mountains are beautiful. It's nice over there. Some people are like, I heard about this other place, called California where they discovered gold. I heard that there's still gold over there. So, I want to go mine over there. And that's what some people did. They went mining for gold, copper, silver, things like that. Some people were like, you know what? I want to see the rest of the country, and if I got to work for the railroad company, that's what I'll do. I'll work for the railroad company because I want to see what's out there, you know. So some people did that. So the GNP, that's the gross national product. That's how much money and products we make in our country every year. It grew 8 times larger than it was before when the Civil War ended. It just blew up because, again, so many factories in the North, so many places, people are getting jobs, the railroads expanding, and people are working and things like that, creating things. So, yeah, our country started making a lot of money. Now, here's the thing you have to remember in the East Coast, New York, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Georgia, Vermont, Connecticut, all those states, right? They're all right there. People have been living there, let's say the settlers, since the settlers' time, since the 1500s. So for basically 300 some years, people have been living there. So do you think they have a whole bunch of trees and a whole bunch of fresh water and coal and iron and stuff like that there? Chances are no, huh? Because they've been digging that out since that time. But on the West Coast, the central part of America and the West Coast, a lot of people live out there are like natives, either Latinos or Native Americans. And Native Americans aren't going to be chopping down trees left and right. That's not their style. They don't go digging into the dirt, into the earth to dig out gold and copper and silver and coal. No, they don't do that. They're basically one with nature, so they're cool with it. So they don't use the resources that are around them for just whatever. So there's a lot of trees, a lot of stuff out there. So what happens is the trains going from the East Coast to the West, they're bringing people, okay? And the trains going back from the West Coast to the East Coast, they're bringing back that timber, coal, copper, fresh water, things like that. They're bringing that back. People are shocked, amazed when they see a redwood tree. Now, if you've never seen one, I would suggest you look on Google, put redwood trees, California, and you'll see these pictures of these massive trees. And that's how people reacted. We're like, they're used to trees being, this big with the size. Maybe you could wrap your arms around it, things like that. But these redwood trees, you cannot. You barely be like, oh my God, you won't even your arms won't even go halfway across, not even a quarter of the way across. These trees are massive, and when people saw them, they're like, "Whoa, where does that come from?" Man, this came from California. Well, I want to see what's out there. They got trees like that. So it really got people interested on about the other side of our country. Now, that was impressive, right? But there's one item that was truly in huge demand. That was petroleum, and there's a picture of it right there at the bottom. Now, I'm sure you're looking at it going, um, I don't know about petroleum, but that looks like something else. And if your mind goes, that kind of looks like oil, you're right. You're right. That is oil because that's what petroleum is, oil. That stuff, oil, when you heat it and you mix with it and stuff like that, you get kerosene. It's a byproduct. Okay, so you play around with oil, with heat and stuff like that, and you get kerosene. Kerosene is used at this time to heat up lanterns and stoves and things like that. Here's a little fun fact. There's another thing that was a byproduct to make kerosene. There's another substance that came from the oil. Um, and that byproduct was gasoline. Now, you have to remember, at this time in the 1880s, no one knew what to do with gasoline. It was just like, whoop whoop. That'd be like if you're cutting paper for a design on there, that extra paper, you just drop it. You're like, what, who cares? You know? Or you're eating peanuts and the shells, you just toss on the ground, you throw it away. It's like it's just the shell. And it'd be like 50 years from now, you find out you can use that shell to make your car run. You can use that extra paper to make electricity. It'd be like something weird like that, something people never thought of. This gasoline that they collected, that they made with it, they dumped it in fields for years. Hundreds and thousands of gallons of gasoline was dumped in fields. Yeah, because again, they didn't know how to use it. So yeah. So here's my next question for you. We've been using petroleum oil since 1859. Why do you think we haven't found an alternate source yet? What do you think? We've had some amazing geniuses here in our country since then. I mean, we've had people like Einstein, we have had Edison, we have had Tesla, we've had people like, the people who went to the moon, NASA people. We've had some amazing, smart people. Washington Carver, the guy made hundreds of products with peanuts. My God, why haven't we figured out an alternative for oil? What do you think? What do you think? What could be a possible reason why? Okay. So think about that for a second. Okay. And when I say oil, I don't mean like gasoline, because we do have alternate stuff for gasoline. We have ethanol. You can even make a car run with oil used in cooking. That's gasoline, but I'm talking oil. Oil for your car, for machinery, things like that. Why haven't we found an alternate source for that? What do you think? Right. So think about it. Take a minute, think about it, pause the video, okay? Because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. If that last question threw you off, don't be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I don't know, whatever. Don't be discouraged, because a lot of students over the years have trouble with that question. A lot of them are like, I don't know. It's just a question that's above them, and that's what I'm trying to do, guys. I'm trying to challenge you to think beyond. Okay. So if you just put I don't know, that's not acceptable. Okay. Try to really answer that question. Okay. Now, moving on with the notes. The population in the United States tripled from 1860 to 1910. It was massive. A lot of people think, oh, it was the Irish or the Italians that came. That's all it was. No, no, no. Yes, Irish and the Italians came, right? But so did the British, so did the French, so did the Germans, so did the Spanish, the Portuguese, the Middle Eastern. All kinds of people came over. So to say, oh, it was just these people. No, no, absolutely not. Okay. Problem is, when the population of an area increases, that means the demand for at least the three essential things you need to survive increase as well. Those three essential things that everyone needs to live: food and water, clothing, and shelter. Those are the only three things you need to survive. That's it. Well, if you have those three things, you can survive. You don't need your phone. You don't need electricity. You don't need all this stuff. And if you tell yourself, well, yeah, I do. I need that stuff. I need that stuff. Then how did people live before that thing was invented? You can survive without those things. People have done it for 1,000 years before you. You can live without it. But food and water, clothing, shelter, those three things. If you don't have those, you might be hurting. You miss one of those things, you might be hurting for a while, but eventually you know, you will pass away. You don't have two of those three things, you're not going to last that long. Okay? So that's what happens. When people come over to the New World, as they called it, they come into New York, Boston, Philadelphia, um, they come into states like Vermont, New Hampshire, things like that, and the increase is needed for all those things: space, clothing, food, and water. Now, again, many immigrants left their country to search for a better life. About 20 million or so came. Okay. Now, some people didn't like it to hear that, oh, these immigrants are coming over, so some people didn't like it. But then there are some people, like factories owners, who just love the idea of having immigrants come over. Now, why would they care? Why would they actually love when immigrants come over? Because you have to remember, immigrants typically are cheaper labor. A lot of immigrants, they don't have the skills, the education to do something, so their pay is going to be lower. They'll get the same production from some immigrant who's making $1 to an American citizen who's making $5. They're gonna make them do the same amount of work. It's just the difference is this guy's getting paid $5, this guy's getting paid $1. They're gonna hire the $1 guy because the company wants to save that money. $4 per hour times that by 8, they're saving money hand over fist. That's just one person. So if a company has like 100 people, times that number by 100, and that's how much money they're saving a day by paying their workers so little. So of course, companies love immigrants. Cheap labor, and they get the same production from them. So here's your next question. What do you predict will be the biggest challenge that the United States will face? Okay, now don't look at that bottom thing because I changed it up. I want you guys to put it as what you think is number one going to be the most biggest challenge the United States is going to face. Then number two, three, four. But number one, I want you to explain it. So if you think crowded city is going to be the biggest problem, I believe crowded city is going to be the biggest problem because, and explain. After that, you can list them, what you think, whether it's corrupt politics, whether it's racism, whether it's corporation taking advantage of immigrants, whether corporation becoming too powerful, or the removal of natural resources. You know, you put it down after that. Okay. So, but number one, you need to tell me what it is and why you picked that one. Why did you pick that first one as the biggest problem or biggest challenge the United States will face? Just in case you're wondering, yes, the United States is going to face all those things, all of them. So, which one do you think is going to be the biggest? Okay, the United States. We will be talking in this whole segment of the Industrial Revolution. We will be talking about crowded cities, how racism really started to grow, how corporations basically took advantage of immigrants, how corrupt politics were, how corporations became really extremely powerful, and how taking all this trees and coal and all this stuff, how it basically hurt our country, taking all that natural resources, how that hurt our country. Okay, so think about it, write your response. Okay, because we are moving on in 3, 2, 1. Now the next part, it says about the paragraph. Just cross that off because we are not doing that. I decided that I'm going to be teaching that. Instead of having you guys watch a video on it, I'm going to teach it because the video doesn't explain that very well. So on the part where it says like a paragraph for the video, just cross that part off, okay? Now we've come to your exit ticket. So remember, you're only choosing one of these two questions. The first one says, why would it be so important for the East Coast to get fresh raw materials from the West Coast? Explain your reasoning. Tell me why. Why would that be so important and significant? The second question asks you, what are some possible reasons why some immigrants would come to the United States? I mean, leave their entire homes, leave everything behind, everything they know, and come to a place that they don't know anybody. They might not know the language. There's no guarantee that there's going to be a job waiting for you or that life is going to be hunky dory and perfect for you. Not even helpful. I mean, there's nothing. You have no idea. But yet these guys get on a boat and they come over. So what could be some possible reasons why they would leave their home? Okay. Um, I will say this though. I am a first generation born here in the United States. So I have heard it from my parents and my grandparents why they came. If you are in that same situation as I am, put that down. Put down why your family came over. You know, might be the same as my family, might be different. I don't know. But you already have basically a first-hand account of, well, actually third-person account um, of why they came here. Okay. If you are not in that situation, really sit down and think, why would somebody leave their home country to go to somewhere else they never heard of? Okay. So once you're done with this exit ticket, you're done with the lesson. Okay. So you guys, that's it. You take care, you be safe, and I will see you guys later. Okay.